Good afternoon.
Hello,
Chair, good afternoon.
Phil, it's 6 o'clock now. I think we should start with our meeting. Co-chair Kaba.
Recording in progress.
Co-chair Kaba has connecting problems, challenges with load shedding. He'll join us later, I think in the next 10 minutes. I am in between receptions, so I've connected to my car. And then so therefore I may not switch my video on and hoping that it will improve my network and hoping that you also see that as being in order. Let's check. We have an acting committee secretary who has replaced Mepet Jaya. She's with us now and her name is Nandipa Makhagwana. Did I pronounce your names well, Makhagwana?
Good evening, honorable members and co-chairpersons. Yes, you pronounced it right, Chair. It's Makhagwana.
Oh yeah, thanks a lot. Welcome to the defense team. It's nice working with us. We are very nice people. And let me again welcome the ombudsman for defense, or is it ombudsperson? And that the ombud will introduce the team. And then from there, we'll look at the quorum, if we're making a quorum. And then if we do, then we'll proceed with the meeting after adopting the agenda. Can we go through that? The Ombud's office.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Actually, I'm joined for this meeting by members of my executive. Some of them may not be visible on the camera there, but if I may just introduce them, the first is my deputy, Advocate Damane Mkhosana, and I'm also joined by the Acting Chief Director, Operation, Mr. Johan Bear, the Director Investigation, Mr. Vedile Jonas, Director Legal Services, Ms. Crystal Pillay, Head of Communication, Mr. Mdluli Chacha, and the Chief Corporate Support, Mr. Makhalimela, our Planning Officer, Ms. Velgemuth, and our IT support person, Mr. Mfeka. Chair, we really welcome the opportunity to appear before your committee. And once we have cleared the issues of the agenda, we'll be ready to proceed with the presentation. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And can we check, Mema Kagwana, if we are having a quorum to start the meeting?
Co-chair, if I may, is Peter here? Chair, we are currently 7 members. So yes, indeed, we do correct.
That comment was so profound, you've stunned the chair.
Mr. Mutle? Good evening, Mr. Mutle.
Evening, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, Chair. Mr. Mutle, both Mr. Taba is switching over due to connectivity, and it seems to me Co-Chairman Chabaleng also have
Mema Kagwana, are
connectivity.
you still with us?
No, he's back.
Yes, Chairperson, I'm
Right.
here. Yes, Chairperson, I'm here, Chairperson.
Are members still on the platform? Am I audible?
You are audible now, Chair.
Mema Kagwana.
Yes, Chairperson. Yes, Chairperson, we do correct. We do have 7 members, Chairperson.
Oh, I was worried that day. I thought maybe I got cut off somehow. Okay, thank you very much. There's the agenda, honorable members. Any mover for adoption of this agenda?
I move for agenda. Kinumuza.
Any seconder? Thanks, Ramzama.
Seconded,
Any
Chairperson.
seconder?
Seconded, Chairperson. Tolokulu.
No, thanks. Mema Kagwana, can you take us through apologies?
Thank you, Chairperson. We have an apology from Ms. Honorable Bartlett, and also an apology from Minister Modise. She's on sick leave. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. From looking at the names as presented by the Ombudsman for Defense, I am definitely convinced that our soldiers are in good hands. Let me give over to the office of the Ombuds to give us a report in the absence of the minister. And is the deputy minister in the house?
Good evening, Chair. The Deputy Minister is just finalizing interviews. Time permitting, he may join, but if not, he's up.
Yeah, just make sure that you attach the apology if it's not received. I didn't hear Ms. Makagwana announcing that. But anyway, I think it is in order. Now you may take the floor.
Chair, before we move on, if I may.
Hello?
Yeah, it's Dennis Ryder, Chair. I've raised my hand if I may have the opportunity.
Honorable Ryder, yes, of course.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, and good evening, Chair and colleagues. Thank you very much. If we can just note that the Honourable Marais is also having some trouble connecting. There appears to be an issue with electricity in the area at the moment, which is preventing him from connecting. But Chair, just a question from my side. I hear that the minister's on sick leave, but you know, it's been now 3 months since she's been in the chair. Is she aware of this committee, Chair? Because, you know, I really feel that after 3 months, we could have at least had one meeting with her as the Joint Standing Committee. I've yet to meet her, so in her capacity as Defence Minister. If we can perhaps, I understand the lady may be ill, but if we can impress on her the need for her to please attend our meetings so that we can hold her to account. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome, Honorable Ryder. Indeed, we do want to see the minister, and now that she's not well, she's not determined, you know, when her condition changes, I think she will be able to come and see us. She's got no reason not to want to see us as this committee. And knowing her as being passionate about accountability and all, I think she will understand this better. When the time comes, she will appear. And yeah, also we invite her to meetings, and if we invite her, she will come when her time agrees. Thank you very much. May I give over to the Ombuds team?
But my hand is there. You don't see my hand. Or must I know my hand?
Oh, okay, let me.
I'm audible, Chairperson.
No, okay, Honorable, I don't see your hand, but you can talk.
Chairperson, but I'm experiencing a very serious problem.
Honorable,
yes, sir, yes, Chairperson. Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Mutsama, I'm saying I can't see your hand, but you can talk.
I said you must make some means. Please, I'm appealing to you to make some means so that the minister can recognize our committee. Now it's full 3 months without seeing the minister after we have been given the new minister, which is standing with this. We have a lot of questions to ask to the minister. There are a lot of problems that is taking place within his department and Department of Military Veteran. But if we cannot see the minister or the deputy minister, is a problem, Chairperson. Make sure that you organize one of his team to be with us. I thank you, Chair.
Yeah, no, that will be done, Honorable Mutsama. I've already addressed this matter. You're just laying emphasis, and I don't need to repeat what I said. There's a form of laying emphasis on what I've said. When the time comes, the minister will see us. And that we should keep on inviting her to our meetings. She understands, you know, that she is accountable also, that we play oversight over her department. She understands that much better. May I give over to the, to give us lead us in the presentation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members. I will now commence with the presentation. The aim then. Okay.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry. We had a slight problem with our slides at this side, Chair. I was saying we aim to present the Military Ombud annual activity report for the financial year 2020-2021. But as part of this presentation, we'll also be giving an update on all the investigations conducted by the office for the financial year 2020 and 2021. As part of my presentation, I will cover the following broad topics: strategic overview, performance information, operations, governance, and corporate support. In terms of the strategic overview, we start with our mandate, which is to investigate complaints lodged in writing by a member regarding his or her conditions of service, a former member regarding his or her conditions of service, a member of the public regarding the official conduct of a member of the Defense Force, or a person acting on behalf of a member. In terms of our vision as an office, we aspire to be a world leading, independent, and impartial Ombud institution. Our mission is to provide an independent, impartial, and expeditious complaints resolution process for serving and former members of the SANDF and the public to promote good governance. Our impact statement is captured as follows: complaints from members and former members of the SANDF and the public are resolved fairly, economically, and expeditiously in a manner that good administration and governance is ensured in the SANDF. As an office, we've got two sets of values. That is core values or organizational values and supporting values. Coming to organizational values, these are accountability, confidentiality, commitment, impartiality, professionalism, integrity, courtesy, and transparency. And our supporting values are behavior, result-driven teamwork, excellence, responsibility, care, and respect. As an office, we've got two strategic outcomes. The first one being fair, economic, and expeditious resolution of written complaints. And the second one being accountable and effective governance of the Office of the Military Ombud. These were developed per the revised framework from the Department of Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation. Coming to our legislative mandate, our act imposes certain responsibilities on the Military Ombud, which are listed in the slide. But perhaps I would lift one of those just for emphasis. That is that the Ombud must investigate a complaint economically, fairly, and I must emphasize expeditiously, and without fear, favor, or prejudice. The minister's priorities captured in this slide, the first one being strategic direction, strategic resource direction, organizational renewal direction, and finally, human resource renewal direction. I must emphasize these were priorities given by the previous minister. We are not sure whether the current minister will adopt these as well. My priorities as the Ombud, first, I emphasize the issue of a turnaround time for resolution of complaints, because that's the issue that will build confidence with our clients. But I also want to emphasize the issue of us continuing to solicit support on the long-term goals of establishing the office as a Schedule 3 public entity. We are aware of the economic situation in the country, but since we are granted the authority to review or amend our acts, we want this captured in the act itself. And in terms of implementation, that will be influenced by the economic situation in the country. And in the interim, one of the things that I'm emphasizing on is to ensure implementation and institutionalization of the ministerial directive on enterprise resource support, because this is one area that really challenges our work and has an impact on our operating budget. In terms of our organizational placement, the office is one of the 3 organs of state that reports to the minister, the others being the Defense Force Service Commission and the Reserve Force Council. In terms of the organization of the office, our structure rests on 2 legs, the main one being our core business, corporate operations, and also corporate support. Of course, I'm heading the office and deputized by my deputy. I'm happy to report, Chair, to the committee that in terms of our main strategic outcome of ensuring fair economic and expeditious resolution of written complaints, we've performed very well in the year under review, achieved a performance of 80%. And of course, in terms of the second one, accountable and effective governance of the Office of the Military Ombud, there we cannot actually relax because we are required by the government prescripts to ensure that accountability documents are submitted in time. We're happy then that we are also able to achieve 100% there. Our strategic outcomes are supported by our performance indicators as indicated on the slide. And I'm also happy to indicate that we're able to achieve most of these, except for the three bottom ones in the area of communication. Our plan there was highly disrupted by COVID-19. And in terms of our support plan, the challenges that we have with procurement actually influence our performance. The last one where we really performed badly on the GRC, it's a new indicator and it has not matured enough, but we hope to improve on this drastically in future. In terms of a statistical overview, in this slide, we want to emphasize the fact that in the financial year 2020-21 is for the first time that we had active cases or carryover cases that were less than 100, which is 88. And this indicates that our effort to clear the backlog is actually bearing fruit. Looking at the manner in which the complaints were resolved or finalized, we'll see that the majority of these 113 were dismissed in terms of Section 7 of the Act. In terms of the age analysis of carryover complaints, I need to point out that in the year under review, when the year started, we had about 148 complaints, but towards the end of the year, we're able to finalize 121 of these, and that amounts to 82% reduction of carryover cases. And you'll see there, those at the bottom part, they are covered according to the years. I'm really worried about those that are still coming back from 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20 financial year. But one thing I need to point out, Chair and members, is that as an office, we'll always have carryover complaints or investigation, simply for the reason that some of these we received towards the end of the financial year, and therefore were forced to carry them over. Coming to the analysis I received in the financial year 2020-21, we actually received a total of 297 new complaints. And when we compare these to the 2019-2020 financial year, where we received 308 complaints, we see that there's a decrease. And this represents a decrease of 3.5%. Now, coming to the issue of how complainants access the office, the traditional ways they do that is by posting and faxing complaints. But we have made provision for them also to come to the office, bring their complaints, and also to contact the office via telephone, as well as electronic medium. And of course, in the pie chart there, we're just showing in terms of the mode of contact. And you'll see that the majority of these 91 were telephone inquiries, which constitute 54%. and 40 were walk-in inquiries, which constitute 24%. And lastly, electronic inquiries were 26%. Coming to the nature of complaints, we received 212 of those were on conditions of service, 56 were on official conduct of SANDF members, and 29 categorized under other. And this category records complaints that range from issues like lack of enforcement and compliance with lockdown regulation, etc. Coming to the breakdown of the complaints submitted to the office, you'll notice, Chair and members, that the majority of these, when we break them down, are those on official conduct of members of the SANDF, which is 56. And they are followed by complaints on service benefits, which are 48. The rest is as depicted on the slide, Chair. And coming to the profile of complainants, particularly when we look at current serving members, the majority of those complaints, 50 of them came from non-commissioned officers. And in terms of former members, about 34 of those came from other ranks. We also look at the complaints per service or members of the public, and we can see that the majority of complaints that we receive come from the Army. The reason for this would be the fact that the Army is the biggest component of the SANDF. And there you'll see that 56 of these came from members of the public. I need also to point out that even though SAMS is the smallest service, it has many complaints because of challenges that are experienced there in terms of implementing the OST. In terms of the geographic spread, the majority of complaints come from Gauteng, followed by the Western Cape. And the influence there may be the concentration of SANDF units in those areas. In terms of gender breakdown, we received 221 complaints from male complainants. Chair, can I confirm? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
A little bit earlier, my line was so bad, but I'm able to follow now.
All right, thank you very much. And of course, 76 of those are female. In our area of communication, we had set ourselves certain objectives, and as I indicated earlier, we struggled a bit with some of those. But coming to the area of internal stakeholder interaction, we were able to achieve the objective we set ourselves, save for the objective on the internal newsletter that we're not able to achieve. But I can report now that that will change because we have started distribution of that newsletter. In terms of external stakeholders, we achieved most of the objectives we set ourselves, except for the meeting that was planned with the Border Management Agency, where we were supposed to discuss issues of outreach collaboration. Chair, I indicated the challenges we are having in the area of communication, and this impacted heavily on our outreach program. But despite those challenges, we're able to conduct outreaches to the units as depicted there in Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga. With international relations, the intention of the office is to build, enhance, and fruitful relations with international stakeholders. I must mention the fact that international relation collaboration has strengthened the profile of the office in a very positive way. Chair and members, we are members of international ombuds organizations like IOMA, which is the African Ombud and Mediators Association, DCAF, the Geneva Center for Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance, sorry for that, and the IOI, International Ombuds Institution. And because of the challenges of COVID, most of these organizations have been actually conducting business virtually, and were actually active participants in those activities, like the council, foundation council meetings of DCAF, and the various events organized by IOMA and IOI. In the area of research and development, the key performance highlight there was the completion of a stakeholder perception survey, which we conducted jointly with SIGLA. The survey has identified a number of areas for improvement, particularly in the area of education and outreach, and we're making sure that we'll address those areas. With legal services, we have been working hard in terms of the legislative review following the authority that were given by the minister. But we also manage litigation that range from applications instituted by complainants in the High Court, either seeking orders against the Minister of Defense and military veterans for implementation of military ombuds findings and recommendations, or applications to review and set aside the military ombuds findings and recommendations. I must emphasize that these remain pending before the High Court, and there will be no judgment against the military ombud to report. Chair members, in 2019, South Africa ratified the UN optional protocol on Convention against torture and other cruel and inhumane and degrading treatment or punishment. Now, as one of the countries then who ratified OPCAT, we are required to establish what is termed the National Preventative Mechanism. And the cabinet has appointed us as one of the entities that serve in that. We're part of its steering committee. The lead entity there is the South African Human Rights Committee. In the area of legal services also, we've been working hard to service the memoranda of understanding and agreements that we have with our stakeholders. And I just need to point out that we are also trying to enter into these agreements with IPID and SALGA. Coming to the governance structures of the office, the most senior committee in the office is the EXCO or Executive Committee, which is chaired by myself, and we meet there quarterly. Then is the military dashboard, military ombud dashboard. This acts as an oversight body ensuring standardization and compliance to service delivery. This is where we look at the complaints that we received, monitor investigation, and ensure that we can. And given that reason, therefore, we took a decision that these meetings must be held monthly, so as to try and improve turnaround time in finalizing complaints. Then there's a management committee, which is chaired by my deputy. It's a coordinating forum for day-to-day administrative function. The other governance structures are operation management, meeting, corporate support management, and finance governance, risk and compliance committee. As an office, we have developed a corruption and fraud prevention plan, and we've been working hard at the implementation of this and also evaluating the progress that we're making. We encourage members also of the office to come forward as whistleblowers where they witness incidents of corruption. And obviously on a continuous basis, members are informed about corruption and fraud prevention measures. And as an office also, we keep a register to record any of these incidents. Coming to strategic risk, as an office, we've got 3 of these. The first one is the Military Ombud Act does not address the governance and accountability framework. Because of the gaps that we have identified in the Act, as an office, we are engaged in the process of legislative or amending our Act. The second one is the independence of the office. We see it as at risk. And the way we are mitigating that is by conducting outreach events, including radio interviews, to promote the image and clarify the mandate and engage with the stakeholders to ensure that the office is seen to be independent and fair with respect to finalization of complaints. The last risk, which is a very big risk for the office, is a shortfall on the compensation of employees' budget. And of course, I was addressing this with the previous minister and the Secretary for Defense, and it is my intention also to take it up with our current minister, because it's truly unfair for an office which is small like ours to be not fully funded on the compensation of employees. In the area of human resources, we were able to achieve a strength of 62. I need to point out, Chair and members, that the Plenary Defense Council took a decision that at the most will be allowed to staff 63 posts, even though as an office we have 89 approved posts. So we had 3 vacancies, 2 of which were able to staff, but by the end of the financial year, we're not able to staff the vacancy in the operational environment. That is an analyst post. In terms of personnel costs, the ceiling for the financial year 2021 was 43.7 million. And we're able to spend 42.9. And of course, we realize the saving as a result of our inability to staff one of the vacant posts. Otherwise, we would have overspent in terms of our budget. Coming to attrition, we lost 1 member who resigned for better opportunities elsewhere. As an office also, we continue to try and empower our members by presenting or allowing them to go on short courses. And then in terms of the equity status of the office, we are struggling a bit in the area of Asians and Coloureds, but we hope to correct that as we continue as an office. In terms of our finances, the office in the year under review was allocated a budget of 55.3 million, 43.7 of which was allocated towards a compensation of employees, and 11.4 million was for our operational costs. It's important to note that personnel expenditure increased by 3% from 41.5 million in the 2019-2020 financial year to 42.9 in the 2021 financial year. In terms of our operating expenditure, our expenditure decreased by 20%. And this can be attributed to the challenges that we are faced with in terms of depending on the Department of Defense for procurement. Chair, I would now want to give an update on the investigation conducted by the office for the calendar year 2021. For the calendar 2020, we've already covered that in the presentation. And I just want to point out that for 2021, we received 153 complaints, and you'll recall I said we had carried over about 88 of these. So all in all, we've got a caseload of 241 complaints. This is as of the 12th of November, Chair. Then if we break down the 153 cases, 134 of those are about conditions of service, and 9 about the official conduct, and 10 are categorized under other complaints. In terms of the status, how we're faring with dealing with these complaints, 31 of these are still under investigation, 14 under assessment, and I'm happy to report that we're able to finalize 108. If we are to zoom on official conduct complaints, in the 2021 year, we've received 9 of those. And I must say we are happy that by now we've finalized 3. But of the 56 that we received in the financial year 2021, we managed to finalize 49 of those and carried over 7. Chair, thank you very much. We are now ready to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Am I audible?
Yes, Chair, we can hear you.
Yes, all members, as the presentation, I think we should engage by asking questions and on clarity and comments. Some of the other things I'd like to know is with the short courses that you are sending people to, what kind of courses are those? And who does them? And at what cost? And at the same time, and again, what is the criteria of, for people that you pick in to go to those courses? Honorable members, there's the presentation, we may engage. Let me see. I see Honorable Murray, Honorable Ryder. Yeah. Yeah, Honorable Murray.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, my apologies for joining late. Just tied up in another meeting. I just want to ask the question. Thank you very much for the presentation, Military Ombud. When you look at your cases, and it seems like this year there seems to be a bit less cases than previous years, and I don't know what the reason for that is. Can you tell us whether there are any cases or complaints that is submitted to you and to your office that you either cannot investigate, is not ideal to investigate, or is sometimes difficult or uncomfortable to investigate? Or do you investigate all cases and all complaints? Is it maybe in terms of when it is ordinary ranks that it is easier to investigate? when it is senior members, say for instance, members of the Military Command Council, that you feel uncomfortable to investigate, where do you draw the line, and on what basis and criteria do you then decide whether to investigate or not? I'm just thinking of what we have been exposed to last Sunday on Carte Blanche. And in that case, obviously, I suspect that you would have received complaints, but it is not the ordinary soldiers as well. They are their superiors, and on all the levels of those superiors, people that might be held accountable or might require investigation in terms of what they've done or not done. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
The Honorable Rider, followed by the co-chair.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. More appropriate. Thank you. So thank you for the presentation. My question is, you have by far a bigger number of carryover cases that you reported on in the recent year than you've had before. Now, I do understand that there were a lot of cases that came out of the first lockdown when the SANDF was deployed to go and deal with the first lockdown. Can you give an indication of how many cases still remain outstanding from that first lockdown, and how many have been, or have you dealt with the majority? Just give us an update specifically around that period, because I do think your resources were probably quite stretched around that. Then I noted one of the targets that you didn't meet, or you said you needed to improve on, was the issue around your communication. And I've actually picked up a number of instances where people are approaching me as a member of parliament with things that they should really be addressing through the ombudsman. And I'm just wondering, what your plan is on improving your communication with members to ensure that they feel that you are an accessible office, and of course that they will be protected. So what are you doing to improve that communication issue is the question there. The next question I have is in terms of whistleblowers. How much protection is there for somebody that is hoping to remain anonymous when they approach the ombudsman? Is there space for someone to raise a query or a complaint where they feel that they've been treated unfairly, but where they feel that that they would like to remain anonymous? Because again, this issue of people approaching me is concerning when there's an ombudsman office. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, can we respond, or are there some other questions?
I think the chair indicated that his co-chair was going to still speak after me.
All right. Oh, no, thank you very much. I missed that one because I'm also experiencing some connectivity challenges here. And thank you very much for the presentation, General. It's good, and it gives account on a lot of the things that you do, and you do them well. I must congratulate you or commend you. But there's one item this week, General and the team. I received a call from one journalist, and so he says he received a tip-off, from or a complaint from some of our soldiers deployed in Mozambique that they've suffered a diarrhea breakout after consuming rotten food and washing it down with dirty water. And I said, look, we have not received anything like that. And I encouraged, I still do encourage members of our force to write to us when they experience such challenges, hardship, wherever they are deployed. Because our oversight function extend to our bases in the country and abroad. So now, in this case, what can you do? Resources should not be a problem because you can come back to us with and discuss the issue of resources. Shouldn't be a problem, resources. And can we rely on you, on your office, to go to Mozambique, interview our soldiers there, and come back and report to us, even before the portfolio committee decides, if it so decides, to go to Mozambique and speak to our soldiers. Because we can't brush this aside and say, just because it has not been reported to us, and we would ignore it. So serious, maybe they don't know that we can intervene. And we approve their deployment. We approve the budget, and the budget is to cater for their needs when they're out there. Now, when we get this disturbing news that they're not being maintained well, they're not being looked after well, we can't keep quiet. We must intervene. But even before we take an aircraft to Mozambique and interview them, I think we must look at whether we cannot utilize the institutions that are there by law to go look into it, conduct some preliminary investigation, and come and give us a report. And that if it requires us to go there, we'll go there. What is your role, General? And if you are not prohibited from undertaking that task, and what should stop us from asking you to go there and conduct the interview and come back? We don't want to rely from their superiors who speak on their behalf. And we want an institution of government like your institution that can go there and get first-hand information. Can we ask you to do that, General? Is it part of a mandate? I think it is. Thank you so much.
I got cut off. Let me check who's next on the. Honorable Biekes.
Thank you, Chair.
And I can see the hand of Honorable Mara is still up. Is it a fresh hand or is it the old hand?
He always raises an old hand.
It's an old hand. It's an old hand. Apologies, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to thank the General for the presentation and congratulate him for the improved performance. Chair, one of the challenges I see is the service benefits. So I want to ask the General, what is his view? Why are there so many cases about service benefits? Or is there a process to educate members of the SANDF effectively on the internal complaints mechanisms? Then, Chair, my second one is, how much do they spend on mediation and conciliation when they resolve cases in that manner? Or does they have the skills, or is it outsourced? And then my last one, Chair, is do they have a plan to make up for the outreaches that was not that was lost during lockdown? Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Beckers. Yeah, may I give up to your office to respond to some of the questions or all the questions, and if there are follow-up questions, members will still have a chance to have a second bite. Over to you, Military Ombud.
Thank you very much, Chair and honorable members. If I make comments with your question, Chair, in terms of the courses that we present and who's actually presenting this on our behalf and at what cost. Chair, what we do as an office, apart from the skills audit that we conducted to determine the gaps in terms of performance, which should be closed by way of courses. Members are every year invited to apply to our ETD committee to actually undertake certain courses. We have a budget on our operation budget to cover for the empowerment of members of staff. But our focus with those courses is in terms of courses that are in line with the work that our staff is doing. I must mention the fact that personally, I was not happy with the fact that some of these courses are 1 or 2 day courses and they are quite costly. And therefore, we've been encouraging staff to try and take up longer courses that would be beneficial to them and also to the organization. Unfortunately, I will not be able, Chair, to give you the exact amount, but we can come back to you about that, because I was checking with my corporate support. The actual overall cost we're not able to give you. We'll check on that. But these are courses that are presented by a number of accredited institutions, because it's one of the things that we always want to ensure that these courses are of value. Let me check if there's a member of my team who wants to add, Chair. Okay. Yeah. Chair, we'll give a written response in terms of the costs, because we don't have that readily with us. Then coming to the questions by Honorable Mare, where first he says there seems to be less cases in the current financial year than last year. Honorable Mare, I think it would be premature to come to that conclusion at this stage, because we can be able to, with certainty, determine that at the end of the financial year, because we receive these complaints throughout the year, and we're able to make, therefore, a comparison between the years once we have the total numbers at the end of the year. Now, coming to the issue of whether or not we're able to investigate cases and investigate them across ranks, or do we just focus on those that involve lower ranks? I want to give an assurance, there's no complaint from any rank or involving any rank that we have received as an office and we didn't attend to, because the manner in which we are doing our work is without fear, favor, or prejudice. So I want to give an assurance to Honorable Mare that we are not intimidated by anyone in the SANDF. If we do receive a complaint about anyone, we'll take up that complaint and investigate it fully. In terms of what was covered in carte blanche, I need to emphasize the fact that our act as it stands, we are not able to conduct on motion investigation. You know? So we rely on people who are affected to lodge their complaints, and then we investigate those. So even though we may be aware of what was happening at the borders there, it's not something we can actually take up without any complaint that has been received by the office. I don't know if any of my team wish to add something. Okay, let's start with Ms. Pillay.
Thank you, General. Good evening, Chair. Good evening to the members of the committee. I just wanted to maybe add that the Act is very clear to say that the Ombud must investigate complaints from members and former members of the SANDF, which is what we do. So there is no limitation in that regard. The Act is very specific on the limitations or certain issues that the Ombud cannot investigate, and that's listed in terms of Section 7 of the Act, which is very prescriptive in terms of what the Ombud cannot or may not investigate. So there are issues where he may not investigate, which would relate to, for example, how a military judge performs his functions, or matters pending before military court, or matters pending before civilian court. And then the Ombud is also given the discretion to determine whether or not he wants to investigate matters that have not followed the internal grievance processes of the SANDF. So like the Ombud has indicated, we do not allow ourselves to be influenced by ranks or by command and control issues. But what we do is assess all matters that we receive. And if it falls within the jurisdiction in terms of conditions of service or in terms of conduct of a member of the Defence Force, then we are obligated to investigate them as we do. And we then would compile a report with recommendations to the minister where that is required. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Chair and honorable members, I think Ms. Pillay has, in essence, covered everything I wanted to say. And maybe just in as far as our investigative powers go, and the Ombud indicated that we cannot do own initiative or own motion investigations. The minister can task the Ombud in terms of Section 611 to conduct an investigation, which may spill over to the issue running, or that was raised on an investigation in Mozambique. So the minister has on occasion instructed the Ombud to conduct certain investigations. And in those instances, obviously, we did investigate and the report goes to minister.
There was a question from Honorable Klaba. Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'm not sure whether we've answered all the questions from Honorable Chair, from Honorable Mare, but I think the way I've captured, I seem to believe that we have answered.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. Then coming to the question by Honorable Ryder, where is making up an observation that we seem to have more carryover cases than reported before. Honorable Ryder, this is not accurate. We had a big backlog in terms of carryover cases, and we have been working hard to reduce those. That's why even in this presentation, I indicated that at the beginning of 2021 financial year, we actually had about 148 of those complaints which were carried over. But within the year under review, we're able to finalize 121, which actually left us with a backlog of about 27 for that, if we're not considering the cases of 2021. So this is one area we really been focused, and we're working hard to reduce the carryover cases. In terms of how many cases are still outstanding in all, I'll hand over to acting CD operations, perhaps to answer that.
General, in terms of the carry over cases, I think it was the last slide. It wasn't specified how many was carryover cases, but it was for the data at the time. And what I can confirm is that of the official conduct complaints, only 7, which was 56, only 7 of those are still under investigation. And of the 9 received this year, 3 were finalized and 6 are under investigation at the moment. It's not a very difficult breakdown to do, but most unfortunately, I have it on soft copy, and my computer crashed yesterday morning, and IT is still busy fixing it. So I have soft copies, but I don't have a hard copy of it in front of me. But we have the exact number of carryover cases and current cases under investigation, as well as how many of current financial year and previous financial year or carryover cases are finalized at any given time. So it is possible to access.
I do realize that perhaps we have not provided a full answer on that, and Chair, I undertake that we'll provide a written response to that. And then the other concern from Honorable Ryder was the fact that he gets contacted by people who should be directly contacting the office. And it suggests that many people don't know how to contact the office. Through our outreach programs, we try our best to educate not only serving and former members, but members of the public in terms of how we can be reached. And also in the various interviews that we've had on TV and radio, we've also covered this aspect. And of course, that is not sufficient communication. We continue to make sure that people become aware of our office, our mandate, and how they can be able to contact us. I think it is still a gap that some people still contact Honorable Reader instead of the office. So we'll intensify our efforts in terms of our outreach programs. When it comes to the issue of whistleblowers, unfortunately, as an office, we have not dealt with this issue. But I think the best way would be to keep the identity of the whistleblowers anonymous, because we know the dangers they can be faced with if their identity is known. And we know also, I mean, nationally, even the issue of protection of whistleblowers is still a huge problem, where we've had incidents of some of the whistleblowers having to leave the country out of fear of their lives. But we're a small office. All we can do when there are whistleblowers is to protect their identity. Honorable Ryder, I'm not sure whether we've been able to cover all your questions. If not, you can point out, sir.
I'm happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Then coming to the question or by Honorable Klaba, I'll give this to my deputy. Okay, sorry, let me then respond. Chair, Co-Chair, Honorable Klaba. I think I've indicated as part of the response to other questions that we've got limitations in terms of our act. We're not able to respond to complaints if they are not submitted formally with our office. And therefore, the issue of taking up the complaints by soldiers who are deployed in Mozambique is an issue perhaps we can take up if we're instructed by the minister in terms of Section 611 of our Act. But from my side, it means if we have to investigate that, I may have to wear my uniform to go to Mozambique and be armed. But for the rest of the investigators, I would really be worried about their safety because it's an operational area where their safety may not be guaranteed. But I take note of the fact, Chair, that you are saying the resources are not a problem from the side of Parliament. But if the issue is discussed with the minister, and then we also consider the issue of safety of actually the investigators. I need also to point out, Honorable Klaba, that during the July upheavals in the country, we were receiving many complaints. Actually, members were not just phoning me directly, complaining about not getting adequate food or maybe rotten food as well. But because it was an urgent issue, it's an issue that I had to address directly with the commanders involved instead of waiting for a full investigation. And in that way, some of these problems were resolved. I don't know whether that response is adequate to you, Honorable Klaba.
Can I make a follow-up, Chair? Yes. No, thank you very much, Chair. Thanks for allowing me to make a follow-up. Thanks very much for the responses, General. I'm raising this point because the Act does allow a member of public, I may be wrong, I think, yeah, to raise a complaint on behalf of members in uniform. In which case, the committee would not hesitate to actually pass a resolution that requests one of us to file a complaint as a member of public on behalf of the soldiers. I'm saying it has to be clear that on this one, when we have received such information, that the treatment that is being given to our soldiers is not up to standard. We can't keep quiet and simply say that because they are in a mission abroad and you see, we can't, our oversight is limited. I understand the issues of safety, but I hope that safety, when it comes to the push, would not be what you call an issue that prevents you to actually move. In fact, General, I've just received what you call a press article from the department, from the SNDF. I mean, it's today's. It says the South African National Defence Force, that's the title, giving clarity on rations that got spoiled before being prepared for soldiers. The SNDF acknowledges that a portion of rations that were meant for a military component deployed in the SADC mission in Mozambique got spoiled before being used for the members as a result of a mobile pantry storage facility used in the mission, which broke down over the period 20 to 24 October 2021. It's an admission that indeed our soldiers were fed rotten food. But if those soldiers had not rested, and they would not have, the department would not have, responded in the manner that they've actually responded. But I'm saying, now, why must it take our soldiers to, look for people out there who actually can help them out when really they have an institution like an ombuds body to actually represent? Is it, I don't know whether it's a matter that maybe they don't think that you will act. I think it's high time that on matters like this, we take an urgent steps to investigate them so that we enhance the confidence levels of our soldiers in institutions that we put in place to look after their welfare, to attend to their own matters. I should be worried that they send the report elsewhere and not to us. I should be worried that they report elsewhere and not to the ombuds, to the ombuds board. But why are they not coming to us? Okay, they've not done so. It has come to us. Now, I think we'll have to meet at some point as a State Joint Standing Committee on Defense and check if it is not proper that they decide that Cyril Xaba or any member of the Standing Committee go file a complaint on behalf of those members as a member of the public, in the hope that the report will then come back and to be transacted in the portfolio committee. I think we must, the accountability must be taken to other levels. They're doing very well, and but on matters like this, I get hot under the collar because these fellows are out there and they had no choice. We said, you go out there, that they're representing the country, and we're in the country, and we instructed them to go out, and there's a budget, for that matter, and they're exposed to such conditions. It must not be allowed. I can't express it stronger than this, and we will investigate. We have lawyers in Parliament just to check if what I'm saying is not a proper avenue to follow in this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Coach.
No, thanks, Honorable Xaba. Actually, I just want to, just make a little follow-up on this one. That if, for instance, things like this, these are major worrying issues where the health of our soldiers is being compromised through food poisoning. Because, once you eat food that is not well prepared, or that is not fresh enough, good for human consumption, they lead to salmonella, which will, can actually be fatal in a way. But I think we need to find a way, even as this committee, that we need to, as part of our oversight, go and visit the troops where they are deployed and see for ourselves first-hand information on what the conditions are like. It's worrying, of course, like you said, Honorable Xaba, that people do not go to where they are supposed to go when they have complaints. They rather leak information to the media. So it says something about us. I think we need to communicate and communicate and communicate and make sure the institution Thanks. Over to you, General.
Thank you very much, Chair. I fully concur the issue of feeding our soldiers on external deployment with rotten food is an issue of grave concern. But in terms of tackling this, Honorable Club, I want to take you back to the issue of the Khoza case. In the Khoza case, we were severely criticized by the media and the people in the country that were not doing anything about it when it was in full clear and widely reported. And when we did receive a complaint from Honorable Mare, there was still a requirement that he must have a power of attorney to be able to act on behalf of the Khoza family, which we didn't receive. Finally, how we were able to actually investigate that case, we approached the minister to use section 611 of the Act to actually instruct us to investigate. Now, in this particular case, I think perhaps if the committee were to request the minister to do that, then maybe it's something that we can be able to look into. But as I said, my investigators are not soldiers, and therefore it's also my responsibility to ensure that if they have to conduct that investigation, they are provided with safety. Chair, this is one of the reasons why we are looking at reviewing our act to make sure that we can have own motion investigation. Because for people out there, they don't understand why our hands seem tied when actually things are happening that we should get involved in, and we do not actually get involved. I would also give an opportunity to my legal to also add in the response.
Yes, thank you, General. I agree. This is a very critical issue that the committee is raising. And I think what we need to do, like the Ombud said, is find the most viable way in which the Ombud can investigate it. So the Ombud is not necessarily saying that we are not in a position to investigate. It's just that we are a creature of statute. And being a creature of statute, we have to comply with the provisions of the Act. Now, in the absence of a complaint, it makes it very difficult for the office to proceed with an investigation. So we have two options, like the Ombud said, in this case. Of course, if we go forward, making sure that the safety of our investigators is given priority as well. But I think for now, we can approach the minister with this issue and inform her about how critical it is, and request that she gives us a section 611 mandate to conduct this investigation. The thing is with the Military Ombud Act, if you say act on behalf of a member, it's very difficult to give it a wide definition to the extent that the person does not necessarily have the locus standi to act on behalf of this member, or you don't have power of attorney from the soldiers themselves. So we do take the matter being raised by the Joint Standing Committee quite seriously. So I think, suggest that we consider approaching the minister would be the best option at this stage, so as to ensure that the interests of the soldiers, which is what the Ombud is responsible for in this regard, is addressed. That would be my approach for now, General.
Just a small follow-up. No, thank you very much. Thank you very much. But our powers an authority, being an oversight, committee, are much wider than just a normal, what you call powers of attorney. I just want to register that we are just not an ordinary person in the street. We authorize, we support the president in deploying the soldiers, and we have powers. I mean, we have a responsibility in terms of exercising that authority. That's one. Two, we approve the budget. And it's our responsibility to see to it that the budget goes to where it's supposed to go. It's much wider. I mean, I'm saying we can interpret the act in the way that we want to interpret it, but you account to us. And if we say you go there, I don't think the act should just come and say the act and does not enable us to assist you in carrying out your oversight function. I think let's leave it at that. And please, I think maybe I would suggest to the portfolio committee that we take a resolution that requests the ombuds to request the minister to exercise Section 16 powers over the matter. Thank you so much. That's my proposal. And on this, let's hope members will agree to it. Thanks.
Chairperson, I support you 100%. That is our role, and we have got that constitutional and legislative responsibilities. So I support you 100%.
So this has been supported by members, and I'm not sure if there's any objection to that. So this matter then should be processed and end in the office where it's supposed to go. Are there further questions from the members?
Sorry, Chair, we're still
before we close this session and move to the second session. Hello?
Chair, my responses, the answers on my questions, please.
Oh yeah, there were questions asked by Honorable Beatus.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah.
If we may respond, Honorable Beatus observed that there are serious challenges when it comes to the issue of service benefits. And of course, we also reflected on that in terms of our stats. In issues like these, as an office, we then categorize these as systemic issues. We have a monthly forum where we meet with the Chief of the Defense Force. And on issues like this, therefore, we raise them and raise them sharply to say there is a problem in terms of implementing policy as stipulated, or maybe there is a gap in the policy that actually results in the number of complaints that we receive. So is the issue that was seized with, and we continue to discuss in our monthly forum with the Chief of the SANDF. On the question whether is there a process to educate members on how to lay a complaint, yes, during our outreach programs is one of the issues that we cover there. Because also in the survey that we conducted, it came out that a number of our clients may know about the office's mandate, but are not sure in terms of how to conduct the office. And one of the proposals that came out of that survey was that, especially in units, if something is placed on a communication board, and many members in the unit would read that and therefore would be aware of it. So it's one of the strategies that we intend to actually follow in terms of trying to close this gap. In terms of whether we have made any plan to make up for lost outreaches, of course, we had a plan for the year 2021, which we couldn't implement. But what we're doing, we're actually trying to intensify, or actually have allocated more resources to the outreach program so that in that manner, we're able to conduct many of these to be able to close that gap in a way. Honorable Biekes, I don't know whether we've been able to respond fully to your question.
Chair. The one of the spending on mediation and conciliation to resolve, did you make use of it, or, and what is the skills? Do you have the skills or did you outsource it?
I was under the impression that you were writing down the questions when members were asking questions. I don't think we need to go through this where members have to repeat the questions that they've asked. Yeah.
Chair, you are right. We're a team here and we write these questions, but I think somehow it's a mistake. But to respond to that, for mediation, which we term alternative dispute resolution, that is conducted by members of staff with the entities involved. And therefore, we can't apportion any cost to that except in terms of the salaries that we pay as an office. So we cannot, we don't outsource this. It's something that we conduct from our own resources. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable members, I think we are now at the end of part one of our meeting. And Honourable Kaba, do you want to say something before I free the Ombuds office so that we can remain doing our parliament work?
No, Chair, I'm covered. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, General, and your team, and that you promised that some of the questions will be answered in writing, particularly where there are, statistics that are, needed. We know you may not have them at the tip of your fingers in this meeting, and that we hope to get them within. How long will it take you to bring the information to us? I think within 5 working days, it will be a reasonable time to expect you to give us the information. Thank you very much. The members will remain.
Chair, 5 working days is quite reasonable. I'm sure we'll be able to provide responses within that period. Thank you very much, Chair, and members for this interaction.
Baie dankie mense. Geniet die nag. Good night.
Thank you.
Honourable members, we have how many pairs of minutes?
Three, Chair.
Hello? Honourable Rider?
Yeah, I think there were 3 sets of minutes, Chair.
Oh yeah, Member Kagwana, may you fly the first minutes? There we are. It's minutes of the 2nd of September. Are they any matters arising from this minutes? If there is none, is there any mover?
I move, Chair.
Chairperson, I can just mention, I mean, given that we have got, I think it's on the 3rd of December, that we have anyway got a follow-up meeting with regards to the ramp of One Military Hospital. So in that light, I will second the motion to accept.
Seconded. Next pair of minutes. I guess we have some taking mechanism for resolutions taken by the committee so that we can check what is outstanding information and, yeah. That's the minutes of the of the 29th of October. Are there matters that matters arising from this minutes? If there is none, is there any mover for adoption of?
I so move.
A second.
Ferreira moves. Any seconder?
I second.
It's seconded. That's this last pair of minutes. Minutes of the 11th of November. Are there matters arising from this? I wasn't in this meeting.
Chair, I move.
I second, Chair.
I don't know what happened to the co-chair. I think we are done with the minutes. Can we move to the last item on the agenda?
I was saying it's off, sorry.
Yes, I think we've concluded concluded the minutes. We're now moving to the last item, the adoption and the consideration and the adoption of the program for the 4th term. So colleagues, this is what we are presenting. I'm sure it's not the first time you are seeing it. I think we have tried to incorporate the inputs received. So we're presenting it. Chair, this is our presentation to the committee.
Chair, I think we discussed the program last time, and also, that it is broad enough that we can raise other matters that deals, basically with the items for the specific days. Yeah, I mean, we only have got until 9th of December. So there are many other things that we need to do, but that'll have to wait for January.
Correct. I agree. So this is what we're presenting, Chair. It's been moved by Mr. Mare and seconded by?
Pekas.
Ms. Pekas. Thank you so much. Over to you, Chair.
Chair, before we move off, yeah, can we make sure that a copy of this gets sent through to the Minister's office as well? Just to ensure that she can plan timeously and hopefully we can get to meet her. But just on a more serious basis, I think that I want to mention that when I was first appointed to this committee, I was told that I didn't need to worry too much, that this committee very seldom sat. And I think that the fact that we sit more often than most committees and that we are discussing at all of our meetings things that are of import and relevance, I think it is, yeah, it's something that needs to be acknowledged. So to thank the chairs and the admin staff behind it for putting the program together and giving us so many things to discuss. Because I think in the previous parliament, I certainly don't think that the Joint Standing Committee was nearly this effective or busy. You do keep us busy, which sometimes we complain about, but I think that we need to appreciate the fact that we're getting through the work that we do. Thank you, Chair.
100% agreed, 100%.
Thank you so much. It's your committee and you are driving it. We're just helping it move forward. Thanks. I think we've come to the end. Chair, are you still in the meeting? Nadipa, have we not exhausted the items?
Chairperson, just for interesting sake, I see there's an article on what you mentioned about the food in the defense web as well. So that is quite a serious matter, and it is now public in that regard. So so well done on that one.
No, thank you so much, Mr. Murray, and yeah, thank you for supporting the proposals, colleagues. All right, colleagues, I think Nadipa, have we exhausted all the items?
Yes, Chair, we have exhausted all the items. Thank you.
And so you are chasing us out.
Just in time for load shedding. Just in time.
Oh, just in time for load shedding. Colleagues, thank you very much. It's been a fruitful meeting. Until we meet again. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
Well done, Shalembe, for joining at the end. Good
Hey,
timing, man.
thank you. At least I made it. I struggled, but anyway, thank you.